Good evening. The oil and gas industry last week was set for a good and positive outing, with NNPC and Total collaborating to grow reserves. The national oil company engaging in a constructive, progressive romance with the unions. Youths are getting empowered around PHRC communities, and NNPC public affairs officers sharpening their skills for progressiveness and proactiveness, until the report for June record of 77% increase in pipeline vandalism almost spoiled the party. But it did not. Chairing reports of commendation by OPEC for a former UN Secretary General whose extraordinary efforts are palpable and impactful across international community. Hey, welcome to our community of stakeholdership. That's how the stories goes in this package. I'm Akin Agbejule. This is Oil and Gas Forum.
I think from Total's perspective, we've got a long and very successful partnership with NNPC, which we would very much like to continue.
Highlights of the stories that are trending: NNPC Total to grow production and reserves. A global jolly good fellow cannot miss out on commendation. OPEC has poured encomiums on one of such. Constructive engagement towards productivity improvement has been assured the unions by the NNPC, and the corporation's public affairs officers engage in skills sharpening exercise at GHIS. PHRC empowers 80 youths on vocational skills, plus 77% increase in pipeline vandalism. That was in June. What's been done between then and now are all in the details and more.
In the past 4 years, the NNPC had presented a better picture of the image of the country. We will continue to pray for the GMD and the management to keep the flag flying, because excellence in service is a rare commodity.
The governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, who is the chairman of the ad hoc committee of the National Economic Council on Crude Oil Theft, Prevention and Control, has called on stakeholders to join forces and work towards eradicating the menace of crude oil theft that is currently on the upward swing in the country. The governor made the call at a meeting of stakeholders which held at the NNPC Towers. A press release by the Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division of the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC), Ndu Ohamadu, stated that the corporation was excited that the menace of oil theft and its twin evil of pipeline vandalism are receiving attention at the highest level of governance in the country. Governor Obaseki, who painted a dire picture of the oil theft menace, informed that in the first 6 months of 2019, the nation lost about 22 million barrels of its crude oil production to oil theft.
If this trend is not abated, it will therefore mean that by year end this year, we'll have lost over 2.5 billion US dollars. That is more money than we have budgeted for capital projects in this year's budget.
The meeting had in attendance the Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Malam Melekyari, and representatives of the governors of Delta, Bayelsa, Ondo, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, and Rivers states. Also in attendance were representatives of the police, Navy, Army, Civil Defense, and International Oil Companies, IOCs, and some indigenous operators.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) and Total Nigeria have expressed their readiness to work together to grow daily national crude oil and gas production and reserves to meet the national target of 40 billion barrels. Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Malam Melekyari, and the country chair Managing Director of Total Nigeria, Mr. Mike Skangster, made the commitment when the Total Nigeria MD led the top management team of his company on a business visit to the NNPC Towers in Abuja. Malam Kyari stated that Total Nigeria was one of the corporation's most important partners with visible outcomes, adding that the partnership will further grow national production and reserves going forward.
One of the few companies that were able to invest in the last 5 years and very visible outcomes that we have seen. And I assure you that we work together to make sure that we progress all efforts to grow production and reserves.
Earlier, the country chair managing director of Total Nigeria, Mr. Sangster, congratulated the GMD on his appointment and expressed Total's firm belief in the Nigerian oil and gas industry and its readiness to deploy solutions to the challenges facing the industry.
I think as a company we've delivered the last 3 FPSOs that have been built, that have been put into production in Nigeria.
The Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Malam Mele Kyari, has called on the oil and gas industry unions, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasan, and the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, to support his management's vision to reposition the corporation. The GMD made the call during a visit of the national leadership of Pengasan and NUPENG to the NNPC towers in Abuja. A press release by the corporation's Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Ndu Uhamadu, stated that the corporation needed every support it could get from all quarters to be able to continue to play its role as a key enabler of the nation's economy.
The window to this country is the petroleum industry. Anywhere you go in the world, the first question they ask you as a Nigerian is about the oil and gas. And the window to the oil and gas industry is NNPC. So when people talk of the oil and gas industry, they have to talk about NNPC. And when you talk of NNPC, you have to talk about petroleum product supply.
On the refineries, he stated that the corporation was committed to their full rehabilitation with a view to bringing them to produce at optimal capacity, adding that there was no room for excuses. Speaking earlier, the president of Pengasan, Comrade Ndukako Ohieri, urged the management to look at the possibility of adopting the NLNG business model for the refineries in order to ensure that they operate profitably on a sustainable basis.
Models like that of NLNG should be adopted. NLNG is an organization that NNPC has 49% equity. It works. I am a proud employee of NLNG. But if it works, NLNG is in Nigeria, the refineries can as well work.
Speaking in similar vein, the president NUPENG, Comrade William Akporeha, commended the management of NNPC for its timely intervention in the disputes between the union and international oil companies, IOCs, which has helped a great deal in averting crisis in the industry.
We are most excited that we have somebody of his caliber today as the GMD of this great organization. And from the assurances he has given us, we have no doubt in our mind that NNPC will be taken to the next level.
As part of efforts to place the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation on a path of solid growth, the Group Managing Director, Malam Mele Kyari, has pledged to constructively engage the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasan, and the Nigeria Union of Petrol and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, to facilitate industrial harmony. The GMD stated this at a meeting with the Group Executive Committee of both unions at the NNPC Towers, Abuja. A press release by the corporation's Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Ndu Uhamadu, stated that the GMD expressed confidence in the competence of the corporation's workforce to exploit the enormous potentials available to change the fortune of the national oil company.
There's no way you will increase your revenue until you produce efficiently in a very cost-effective manner, so that those income will come and it will take out your losses.
It stated that the corporation under his leadership was ready to confront challenges with new innovative ideas, noting that the priority of his management was to boost the corporation's revenue base. In his presentation, the Pengasan Group Chairman, Comrade Matthew Duru, said he had no doubt in the GMD's ability to deliver on his mandate of taking the corporation to greater heights.
Your appointment, sir, we can attest, was born out of your track records of excellence, prudence, honesty.
On his part, the NUPEC chairman, Comrade David Edache, pledged the support of the unions to support management efforts to reposition the corporation.
On this note, sir, be informed officially that anywhere you face, that is where we face. Anywhere you go, that is where we go.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has recorded 77% rise in cases of oil pipeline vandalism in its network of pipeline infrastructure across the country in June 2019. The corporation's monthly financial and operations report, MFOR, for the month said 106 pipeline points were breached, representing an increase from the 60 points vandalized in May 2019. A release in Abuja by the NNPC Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Undu Ugamadu, explained that the Aba-Enugu axis in the System 2E pipeline corridor accounted for 25% of the total pulverized points, while the Lagos-Atlas-Mosimi axis of the System 2B had 23% of the compromised pipeline points. The release said the Ibadan-Ilori leg of the System 2B pipeline accounted for 18% of affected lines, followed by the Port Harcourt-Aba section of the System 2E, which was responsible for 13% of the affected pipeline, adding that other areas accounted for the remaining 21% of cumulative line breaks. The monthly report, which is part of the corporation's strategies to open its operations, activities and finances to the public, stated that in spite of the wanton breaches of its critical pipeline network during the period, the corporation ensured continuous fuel supply and effective distribution across the country, saying that during the month under review, 1.76 billion liters of premium motor spirit PMS, translating to 58.65 million liters per day, were supplied and effectively distributed. It noted that to sustain the adequate product supply and distribution in the downstream sector, the NNPC had continued to monitor the daily stock of PMS across the nation.
Comrade Kiari, who is now the GMD of NNPC. There is something to be done. He champions it. He is selfless. He is passionate. So we have no doubt that he's going to bring to bear all of those traits that he has garnered over the years.
As part of efforts to reposition the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, as a global company of excellence, public affairs officers of the corporation have been trained on the need for them to adopt proactive and predictive public relations strategies in their management of information emanating from the nation's oil and gas industry, which is one of the cornerstones of the national economy. In his opening remarks at the NNPC Group Public Affairs Division First Quarterly Interactive Session, GQIS, the Group General Manager Undu Ugamadu described the petroleum sector as the heartbeat of the economy and implored participants to be dutiful with sincerity of purpose to address concerns of all stakeholders. Ugamadu described the GQIS as a knowledge-sharing gathering that will enable public affairs officers to discharge their duties efficiently in alignment with the corporation's management agenda of transparency, accountability, and performance excellence. Tape.
Place a lot of interest in CSR, particularly managing our host communities. There is no single strategy in managing all situations.
The NNPC spokesman implored participants to efficiently negotiate and manage the expectations of internal and external stakeholders, emphasizing the need for them to collaborate and cooperate with one another to boost the reputation of the NNPC in positive light. Executive Director Services of the Kaduna Refining and Petrochemical Company, KRPC, Dr. Abdullahi Idris, was the guest speaker at the event, posited that public affairs function was a strategic management function key to the resolution of crises emanating from the various publics of the corporation. Speaking on the topic managing information in the oil and gas industry, Dr. Idris stated that public affairs officers must imbibe the virtues of being confident, courageous, and passionate about their onerous duties of promoting the image of the corporation.
Information management is central to the job of any public affairs officer. And if we look at the state where our corporation, the NNPC, is at the moment, the challenges that are right now and the challenges that we expect, to face going forward, it's very important to prepare our public affairs officers to be proactive and to be predictive in the way they manage information.
Participants were drawn from the various subsidiaries and relevant units of the corporation.
We've learned so much today that if we apply it in our daily jobs, we will be expert in managing the affairs of our corporation and, of course, moving us to the next level.
We have learned a lot, especially in the areas of public relations. What can you do to make you effective? How do you manage crisis?
As public affairs practitioners, we should be able to dominate our environment, prove our worth.
To be courageous, we have to be bold, we have to educate ourselves further, to be able to project the image, of our various companies.
For me personally, it has taught me the skills in crisis management. It has also taught me to be very, very creative in handling my affairs as a public affairs person.
It has been a well-spent day, one that is full of insightful, educative, and informative sessions.
80 youths from Eleme and Okrika communities in Rivers State are now proud owners of their own businesses, courtesy of the Youth Empowerment and Skills Acquisition Program, YESAP, of the Port Harcourt Refining and Petrochemical Company, PHRC. This was disclosed by the Managing Director of PHRC, Engineer Bukar Abba, at the graduation ceremony of the beneficiaries of the third edition of the company's YESAP, which held recently in Port Harcourt. Speaking at the event, the MD said the company made the investment in the program in demonstration of its commitment to corporate social responsibility and sustenance of its robust community relations activities. Viewing the success of the YESAP, the Executive Director Services PHRC, Babatunde Shofowora, who was represented by the Manager Public Affairs, Edith Johnson, said the graduation of the beneficiaries of the third edition empowerment program was a testament to the commitment of PHRC to foster mutual and symbiotic relationship with its host communities. In their various addresses at the event, Chairman of the Joint Community Relations Committee of Eleme, Sir Enoch Dibia, and his counterpart from Okrika, Chief Martins Konibi, lauded the efforts of PHRC in sustaining the relationship with its host communities. Startup parks presented to the beneficiaries include generating sets, hairdressing equipment, laptops, refrigerators, kitchen utensils, sewing machines, computer accessories, welding equipment, as well as certificates. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, has applauded the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, for his tireless and extraordinary efforts in preventing conflict, promoting peacemaking, improving human welfare, and fostering sustainable development across the international community when he was at the UN. OPEC Secretary General Dr. Mohamed Sanusi Barkindo delivered this message during a meeting with His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, former UN Secretary General, at the OPEC Secretariat, Vienna, Austria. He noted that Ki-moon advanced cooperation among nations during his 2 terms as Secretary General from 2007 to 2016, stressing that the gesture was an overlap of OPEC's goals as demonstrated most clearly through the organization's enduring efforts to support sustainable development by helping to ensure oil market stability. Barkindo stated that their paths crossed regularly at the annual UN Framework Convention on Climate Change UFCCC COP meetings, of which Ki-moon never missed one during his 10-year tenure as UN Secretary General. He said Ki-moon was resolutely dedicated to environmental and sustainable development issues, and his active participation at the UN FCCC meetings was welcomed by all.
Hello, glad you could join us on the feedback segment of the program. My name is Julia Auta. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC weekly TV flagship program captioned Oil and Gas Forum is designed mainly to inform, educate, and enlighten viewers about the ever-bustling activities in the global oil and gas industry. On today's edition, we are sampling views about the impacts of the program.
It makes the authority, I mean the NPC, to have interaction with the stakeholders so that they can feel also the feelings of the stakeholders, marketers in the downstream, even upstream operation, and to educate Nigerians about what Nigerians don't know about oil and gas.
I've had cause to watch that program a number of times, and first of all I would say it's really informative, it's educative, it sheds light more about the activities of the NNPC.
The program is timely, the Oil and Gas Forum weekly. It's a timely one. You get to know every of the activities of NNPC and all its subsidiaries, within that week.
I was very interested in the program, in the way they present. They also give scholarships to people.
Oil and Gas Forum is a good one. One, because information is key. For a layman who does not understand the runnings or the business of the oil and gas, if you keep weekly watch of the program, it brings you to, it brings you up to speed.
A lot of people out there that doesn't know NNPC got to know more about NNPC. They got to know what NNPC is up to, what they've done, what they're about to do, and what they are doing presently.
Well, I think in addition to what the NNPC is doing currently, which is publishing its monthly oil and gas operations and financials, the program on NTA has also helped or is helping a lot of Nigerians, myself inclusive, understand the operations of the NNPC.
I'm learning something out of it, yes, and I believe others will keep to watch it, and I advise everybody, every Nigerian, to listen to the program.
Indeed, you will agree with me that the program has improved the narratives about the Nigeria oil and gas sector and helped in giving the people an informed point of view about the petroleum industry. And that's all we can accommodate on this segment. Please don't go away as the rest of the program continues.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on another educative segment of the program. My name is Tola Bubuade. Did you know that NNPC's drive towards global excellence has made the corporation to define its processes as well as benchmark them against world-class oil and gas companies? Did you know that the corporation is putting in place right cost structures that guarantee value realization and profitability? Did you also know that the National Oil Company has set up goals and priorities that will guarantee performance excellence? Did you know that the NNPC, under the leadership of the Group Managing Director, Malam Mele Kyari, is setting up suitable governance structures for its strategic business units? Finally, did you also know that the NNPC is prepared for teamwork and collaboration with all key stakeholders? Quite informative, you would say. Please stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to Global Crude Oil Outlook. Oil prices moved in opposite directions, with Brent easing but holding above $60 per barrel, while a sharp fall in U.S. inventories last week boosted U.S. West Texas Intermediate WTI futures. Brent crude was down 9 cents at $60.40 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate WTI crude was up 29 cents at $56.07 per barrel. The U.S. Government Energy Information Administration said on Wednesday that American crude stocks dropped last week by 10 million barrels, while gasoline and distillate stocks each fell by 2.1 million barrels. U.S. weekly crude production rose 200,000 barrels per day to a new record at 12.5 million barrels per day in the week to August 23rd, the EIA said. Concerns about a slowdown in economic growth due to the trade war raging between the United States and China, the world's biggest oil consumers, along with the potential hit to oil demand, are keeping prices in check. China's Commerce Ministry said on Thursday, China and the United States were discussing the next round of face-to-face trade talks scheduled for September, but hopes for progress hinged on whether Washington could create favorable conditions. Concerns about the global economy have watered down the impact of oil production cuts that the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, Russia, and other producers have been exercising over the past 2.5 years. And that's it on this segment of the program. I am Owigo Okolo.
Well, for those out there, you can always make it on stage. You can always win. Just work hard, focus, and everything will come your way.
That's been the package this week on Oil and Gas Forum. Plenty of takeaways, as a matter of fact. NNPC wishes you a fruitful and jolly good week ahead. Bye.